Previously on Manzikert, the Roman Empire is facing war on all fronts. In the west, Manuel, honoring his newfound alliance with Venice, has taken the bulk of the Imperial army on an invasion of Hungary. In the east, the Ghaznavids have conquered the Baghdad Sultanate, vanquishing one of the empire's only allies. Sultan Bahram Shah was not satisfied. His armies soon entered the territory of the Principality of Antioch. Anastasios, who was supposed to be supporting Rome's allies as governor of Armenia and Strategos of the East, was busy marching west in the hopes that he could take advantage of the ongoing civil war to install himself as emperor. Meanwhile, King Stephen continued the siege of Constantinople. Governor Leo had secured the loyalty of the Aegean fleet and was using them to blockade the city. The situation inside the city was desperate. Food was low. Much of the city was still in ruins from the fire that occurred soon after Valentinos' coup. Christos Zerlakos, an influential priest, continued to rapidly accumulate followers as he preached in the streets, complaining about the failures of Valentinos' rule over both the church and the empire. Christos would rant about how Valentinos corrupted the Constantinople Patriarchate, which is what caused Gregorios to turn to the Pope in the first place, and brought both the Orthodox Church and the Roman Empire to its weakest point in decades. Christos wanted Valentinos to cede all power back to the Senate, which would be reformed as a class of high-ranking priests from across the empire. He also wanted a new written civil code to replace the Code of Justinian, bringing traditional Orthodox values across the empire, as well as providing a legal framework for how the imperial government would operate. Christos also preached that Emperor Isaacos was ordained by God, and that once he grew up, Valentinos' regime would be deposed, and all of Christos' ideas would be enacted. His message was popular, and many people in the city began following his philosophy, which came to be called Zerlakism. Christos' followers soon formed organized gangs in the besieged city, calling themselves the Zerlakites. They harassed and attacked politicians called out by Christos, even those who were close allies of Valentinos. The Zerlakites were not the only faction developing in Constantinople. Many of the city's citizens soon began attending the lectures of Bernardo Melakos, a Greco monk who taught history lessons about the ancient Roman Republic as well as ancient Greece at the city's university. Melakos soon developed a political following, as he commented on the ongoing political situation, proclaiming that the best way to revive the empire was to adopt a system resembling either the Republic or early Principate. He also wanted to create a new written civil code, but disagreed with Christos' desire for a religious fundamentalist state. Melakos believed part of the reason Alexios and Gregorios had such successful reigns was due to their religious and cultural tolerance. He hoped fostering religious tolerance would eventually also heal the Great Schism. His followers organized clubs, calling themselves the Melikites. The anarchy in the city also allowed previously suppressed heresies to reemerge, with the Bogomils and Paulicians gaining a number of new followers as their preachers spoke about the ongoing crisis. All these factions would get into fierce arguments on the streets, often breaking into fights. For now, Valentinos was happy to let them fight each other, but he knew that it was only a matter of time before they joined forces against him. He parleyed with King Stephen just outside the city's walls. Valentinos offered to give King Stephen every last ounce of gold remaining in the imperial treasury if he would end the siege and leave the empire. The Patriarch even agreed to cede all of Serbia, but Stephen refused. He stated that Gregorios would be avenged, no matter what. He demanded Valentinos turn himself in and surrender the city. Obviously, Valentinos refused. The siege continued, but soon, King Stephen's strategic calculus changed. News came of Manuel's joint invasion of his kingdom with the forces of Venice. His army laid siege to Ragusa, the city where Zachary and Alphakos were staying. Lycurgos had also reached Serbia with 4,000 men, and began burning the entire countryside. Many soldiers in Stephen's army wanted to go home and defend their lands. A riot nearly broke out in the army's camp one day, when Stephen made an off-the-cuff remark where he said he would gladly spend the next 10 years besieging Constantinople, if need be. Stephen knew his options were limited. Governor Leo would not be able to maintain the siege on his own. They either needed to capture the city soon, or call off the siege.